Hi, everyone. So the sort of starting point for this panel was really about how social media has enabled a bottom-up, bubble-up, decentralized way for culture to emerge, which has very fluid dynamics which span different platform environments, content codes, and user behaviors. But that also means that brands have to be a lot more dynamic, relevant, and meaningful in the value exchange that they put out into this environment. And success for brands requires a balance between performance and creativity, paid and owned, creators and superfans, and AI efficiency and human engagement. So I'm really excited to have my panel here today. Michelle, Jana, Candace, and Mary. All four of your brands are obviously in very different stages of the life cycle when it comes to the social media ecosystem. Right, Tarte has been navigating the landscape for almost a quarter of a century now. Tatcha is engaging in these buzzy, both online and offline activations. K18 is a viral success that's been a decade in the making, and then KIKI World has this really exciting model of tech and community-driven co-creation. But obviously between the algorithms dictating what consumers do or don't see and the sheer amount of competitors in the market, creating your own viral moment is more difficult than ever. So I figured we'd start off by just discussing how do you navigate the algorithms and break through the competitive noise. With you, yeah.
Hi. So good morning, everyone. So I think the question was around how do we navigate the algorithm in social. So we know that the TikTok algorithm takes into account everything. So how your users, how many times they view it, who's viewing it, how engaged they are. So I think that the balance is always about how do you stay authentic to who you are as a brand, who you want to engage with, and then what conversations are happening in social, and also what your customers are talking about and who you want to have this conversation with. So I think that's most important for us to tell our story, because each one of our brands have rich stories, and an opportunity for us to create content and engage with our consumers, and that's how you build your strategy for your content.
Yeah, Candace?
Yes. Hi, everyone. I'm Candace Bulishak. Nice to see you. Thanks for being here. I think for us, really navigating the algorithm, it is about this authenticity, like you mentioned, and being true to who you are as a brand and being able to adapt and shift. If something doesn't work, shift to the next thing. We know the algorithm favors organic engagement. So whether we're putting our mascot, as the leader with Shape Tape or creaseless concealer to really entertain, right? So it's about creating organic content that's engaging, it's fun, and that's been something for us that has worked.
Jana?
So I'm Jana, one of the co-founders of KIKI, and we founded KIKI with a very simple idea that customers and creators create the most value for our brands. And how can we reward that participation to make them co-creators and co-owners of the products and the company that we built? If you look at the social media landscape today, we're all beholden to the Web2 social networks that don't share that much social media, or that much customer data with us. So we're chasing attention metrics that are rarely correlated or less correlated with actual loyalty and transactions. And so in KIKI World, we ask a simple question that we realized was actually never really asked to customers systematically over the years, which is, what would you like to create? And every time customers swipe on what is it that they would like to make, they get rewarded. So we reward customers for their input even before they buy anything. And then we see what kind of products we co-create. And we see that it leads into incredible innovation, incredible engagement. So instead of engaging just through our social, we have people coming back to our website to see what we want to create 20 to 200 times a month on average. And we're committed to creating a world where every customer is not just a passive consumer, but as it can become if they're interested. Not everybody is interested. Somebody just wants to buy the cool thing, and that's fine too. You can just shop. But we really want to reward the participation and the value that we create as KIKI. And we've been so excited to build that model that we're extending these tools to brands and creators in the coming months. But we've shipped over 3,000 products that have been co-created through this model. And we're creating a data network that can be seen by customers. And they can see what are the other customers that voted on the things that they wanted to make. So my I voted sticker here is not political. It is a beauty statement. We believe in a world that's co-created and co-owned by our customers as the most sustainable and exciting way to build our businesses.
Yeah.
Hi. At K18, we really lead with a social media first strategy. And for us to win against the algorithm and in the space, it's really about setting up the team to be agile. So you don't need to work so far in advance, and we're able to move at the speed of light and with culture. I always say it's like brand strategy, but with a social media lens. So when you're thinking about brand, it's what is your discriminator? What makes you the most disruptive? When you're thinking about category, it's, in the most crowded space ever, how can you show up different? For us, hair care is a crowded space. And our big discriminator was bringing a humanistic element to really groundbreaking science. Then we're looking at landscape. So what can you do on social media that you can't do other places? And that is a lot. There are creators and a lot of people in the space that influence culture. And then the last is really looking at the audience. Social media is iterative. It is test and learn. So the audience will tell you what is working, what is sticking, and the big thing is being bold and disruptive.
Yeah. Candace, I wanted to ask you a bit about just the idea of, given the 25 years that Tarte has been around and is a leading prestige cosmetics brand and is still trending on social, what has been the key to maintaining relevance, but also, just navigating the constant fluctuations of the online space?
Yeah, no, great question. So I've been with Tarte for 19 of those 25 years, and Maureen Kelly, the founder and CEO, is still at the very leading the charge at Tarte. We are really real, and we move quickly. We still work like an entrepreneurial brand, even though, as you mentioned, being a prestige makeup leader, we still adapt, we shift. It's about our community. When I think about how we stay relevant, the team is really nimble. When we're working as a team, we really talk about how do we shift, how do we look at things differently, and if you're not nimble, you're not going to remain relevant. We obviously are tripping with Tartes. That is something important to us because we've always been about creating these relationships and building the community. I can remember early days prior social media, we had something called Tarte Talk, and it was a way for us to connect directly with our community. It was an online blog forum where I would respond to a customer that asked about a blush or whatnot, and we've taken that from the beginning, and we still connect with our community. We're on our 25-year kindness tour with the community. Maureen was yesterday in DC, really connecting one-on-one with the community. And then, staying relevant with the way that we do our social. I just made everyone here film a quick TikTok before we got on the stage, because that's who we are and that's what we do. And we're not afraid to take risks. With social, how we navigate some of the stuff out there. I'm sure many of you have read about the creator mailers. Yes, we do them. Yes, we have intention with everything we do. And, we remain trying to share and be transparent with everything we do. With a creator mailer that went a little wary, it's about slowing down to go fast. And we launch a lot of products, and we had a few mailers out there at the same time, but the way that we do our, mailers, it's untraditional, the way we do things, and we don't ever ask content creators to post. It's up to them if they want to post. So maybe somebody gets something, that day, they may feature it, or they'll wait a month. So we continue to evolve and learn and take those learnings, and at the end of the day, it's about being nimble, it's about shifting, because otherwise your relevancy kind of disappears, which we never want that. So yeah.
Jana, I'd love to talk to you a little bit more about how KIKI World is really leveraging technology to create this really special space of social engagement, really positioned at the frontier of, creator-led commerce. So, yeah.
Sure. So I think the headline for KIKI in the ugly sort of technical terms is social commerce and putting interest-based data on chain. I think going into crypto on this forum is probably not so fruitful, but I do think that we started KIKI, as I mentioned, as an idea that customers could become co-creators and co-owners. And so the steps that we've taken is that we've created a front end that allows our customers or anybody here in the audience to vote on which products we create. In order for that to be true, we have built a custom both front end and back end that allows our customers to collect this data. And because some of the data is on a blockchain network, it allows in our future releases for the brand, for the creator, and for the customer to see this data. And that's a very unique way of looking at things, because right now when we swipe on things in social media, Meta or TikTok takes that data and sells it to us as advertising. And our goal with KIKI is to take the data and make it visible to all of us and see what happens. And what I can tell you in an early stage, we obviously have a thesis about what happens, new kinds of transactions and loyalty and rewards and innovation. And so we have wonderful examples of it even in our early stage of our product, where I often use this example of like top-down commerce, which is the current way of doing things, and it's not a bad way. It's a way that's possible thanks to the technology that we have today. We have a thesis on what customers want, and then we use technology to sell it. And what we're saying in KIKI World, now there's a technology to not use the internet to sell, but to use the internet to create. And what does that look like? And so an example that we have in our network today, when we first launched, we had customers vote on a color of a nail polish. We have this very innovative pretty nail graffiti. It pairs to your phone as a nail polish. It's peelable. There's no smell. We thought we were so cool. And what turns out is that all of our early members told us that's really great that we vote on color of this nail polish, but we really want to do skincare. And so there's two collections that we've been creating since. One of them is in the skin patch area, and our members have just co-created a bedazzled skin patch. It literally has rhinestones on it, and it's a relatively simple idea that I haven't seen it before. Maybe it does exist. I don't think it does, but it shows that the level of creativity and playfulness that can come out of collaborating and rewarding your customers for the collaboration and really creating that culture that we're creating something together is unparalleled. And I think a last, probably a little more of an aspirational example that we've seen in our network. So we have a network of about 40,000 members. Right now we're early, and all of you are welcome in our network. It doesn't cost anything to join, so please register and start collecting KIKI points. But we've had our members connect among themselves and they said, can we use your office to create things? And they're connecting open source hardware to open source software to retrofit because we have a lot of custom packaging on the KIKI Studio side. And they're thinking about what smart packaging looks like. And it goes to show that the innovation of a network, so if you can create a network around your brand that shares incentive, will always outperform what you can do as a top-down company. And so I think this idea that we need to find interactive and rewarding participatory models is very important, and technology now allows us to do that.
Yeah.
So that's how we think about it at KIKI World.
Yeah. Speaking of networks, Michelle, obviously with K-Teen, you had an incredibly fast scale, and the professional community was a big part of that, but also incorporating these, custom music and sort of entertainment-focused aspects into your social strategy. So once you hit TikTok virality, what tools helped you accommodate that ascension and also just keep the momentum going?
For us, we use tools to help our strategy, but the biggest thing with K18 is we've built an in-house team, and we did this since early days. When we were just starting out year one, we had a team of 3 in-house. We've built that team to now 12, and it's really about having people on the ground being able to listen to culture, spot what's trending, see who is out there, and then on the flip side, having leadership to be able to listen and react and move quickly. But I mean, as far as tools go for from an owned perspective, we use tools like Dash Hudson. For earned with influencers, we use tools like Tribe Dynamics and Grin. But again, it's really about hiring the team that knows how to use these tools, how to maximize them, because the tools don't give you the strategy.
Yeah. Mary, I wanted to talk to you a bit about Tatcha's omni-channel approach, which I think the brand has really intelligently leveraged, creating that connection between online spaces and offline spaces, really, sort of pushing communication and impressions. And how do you sort of connect the dots? Because I think of a recent example where you had a pop-up and that resulted in 9 million views on social media, but also, triple retail sales. How does it work to make that kind of?
Yeah, so I think it's an exciting time to be in beauty and to be a marketer as well in beauty, because there's so many ways that your customer can engage with your mission and your purpose. And for Tatcha, we're a highly sensory brand. So, the idea that the product is not just we know it works on your skin, but also how it feels, how it smells, how it makes you feel. And for us, that's a connection to nature as well as to yourself in terms of a catalyst for your overall well-being. So we wanted to bring that into an omni-channel experience, and we know that we wanted to bring the Japanese forest to our clients. And the pop-up was a physical experience of that. We brought the digital world into a physical experience when we imagined a forest. What would it smell like? What would it feel like? And we brought we did a pop-up and we brought people into that experience. But while we were there, we had content creation there, and we posted on social because we knew that not everyone in the country could come and experience the pop-up. And then we also had our product experience that moved alongside of it. And then in our digital channel, we created a digital virtual world of the forest. So I think it's how all the pieces fit together to paint the full picture, the full expression of the brand. And I think it's something that Michelle talked to in the beginning in terms of what can you do in social that's different than what you could do in a physical environment, in a digital environment. And it's many facets to tell the whole story of the brand.
Yeah. Another, interesting, I think, point that also came up during the prep call for this panel was the idea of trends versus trending, right? Trending being something very reactive, but trends being something you can kind of build into a bit more. So, Candace and Mary, I was wondering if you could give a bit of your insight in terms of, strategically, how do you maneuver both of those?
Well, I think it takes a lot of planning to be spontaneous. So I think that's ironic to say, but you have to continue to trend by connecting and knowing what's the community talking about. But then you also have to watch what what's happening in the conversation outside of your brand to be part of that conversation. So we look at content, how to engage it through our product experience. So one example I could give you is we had a limited edition our Kisu lip mask, and it's a chrysanthemum color, and that flower's a special flower in Japan, and we wanted to talk about the color. But then when we launched the product, it was pumpkin spice latte season, and that's what was showing up in the comments. And our team said, we're going to lean into that because that's a vibe for the fall. So I think that's really how we engage with how do we connect our product experience with what's trending. And then once we did that, it was carried, and we changed our content. So leaving space for spontaneity and listening to your customers and reacting, and then those pieces fit together.
Yeah. Perfectly said. I think for us, I think of it as when we're trending, like you're running a 3:30 low hurdle and you're sprinting, and then when for a trend, it's a marathon, right? And funny enough, earlier this week, I was with the team, and I had our SVP of supply chain, our head of sales, our head of marketing, and there's this one product where it's a mascara that we thought was trending. And we're looking at data, we're reading the comments, we're looking at all the information, and we're like, oh shoot, we have to make this decision of, is this a trend? Do we need to buy to it? So we're taking that risk, and we are buying to it, and it was not part of our strategic plan. We weren't even thinking that this was going to take off, but it's about what our customers want, what the Tartelette wants, what the community wants, and it's listening and reacting and being nimble to be able to make it happen. So yeah.
And a question I have for all four of you is just how you manage the volume of content that's required, but also, how have the metrics for determining a successful campaign changed? Michelle, maybe you'll start with you.
So with us, we're not as sacred with content. Like I said, social media is very iterative, and it's a test and learn. So I urge the team to post as much as possible. So it could be the same sound, for example, with different words, or the same concept. And that's a really great thing, because you can test and see what's hitting and what's not. But we definitely are continuing to balance. I think as this world shifts, like you need 700 assets for a campaign. So we're keeping up with the pace, but part of that has been for us is reducing the amount of campaigns and really planned things to be able to have room to react to culture.
Jana?
We're completely led by our customers, and we actually, if we look at the leaderboards from last year, so we launched KIKI just over a year ago, and whenever you vote on any of our things, there's a leaderboard of what's winning, and it's been really rewarding to see the customer-led results kind of be a trend forecast for this year. So we're really leaning into that. We're a startup, so we don't yet get to react or have as many campaigns as we'd like, but that's part of our reason why we're building a technology that will allow our customers to launch these campaigns permissionlessly without ourselves, and build a network ground up, and that's our approach at the moment.
Yeah. For us, our in-house team, we do everything in-house, from ideation to execution, from editing. And it's not just, yes, we have a content team, we have photographers, we have videographers, but it's a collaboration from the most junior team member to the most senior. And it's about the reason why we keep it in-house, because it's our vibe. And we've talked about it many times. Do we, work with a creative agency? Do we share some stuff? But it never will be genuine and authentic, and we're able to pivot. If we work on something, everyone knows, hey, that may not come to fruition, and we're okay with that. We're okay to let go and move on, but we're creating content daily. And it's not just for one thing. When we think about the content we're creating, it's that 15-second clip that can live, but then that 5-minute educational video. So for us, again, it's really understanding what our community wants from us and, delivering that.
The sheer volume of content could be overwhelming, right? So we do have an in-house team, but we operate in a hybrid model where we collaborate with other creators as well as agencies, because to keep up with the volume, and we also may not have the right mix at certain points in time. So I think that hybrid keeps us agile and also helps us scale.
Yeah. And obviously with KT and Tatcha and Tarte all having such a large international presence, how do you kind of adjust for the regional nuances in terms of content? Whoever would like to say.
Well, I think in different regions, the social platforms are different. So how we adjust for that is look at where our community is and where do we want to be, where do we want to be having those conversations. Because I think that the thing that we talk about for Tatcha is the brand is very intimate, like a one-on-one relationship, but social allows us to reach one-to-many and still have a very personal conversation in the social world. So in China, it'll be different because the platform is Douyin, WeChat, and then in Western markets, it's TikTok, which is a Douyin complement, and Instagram. So I think being able to scale in those platforms and thinking about, are those communities different? The other part is we have retail relationships. So those are very local. So in the UK, we could partner with Space NK to create content with the same content creators using a global social handle. So you could take a global story and make it very local with a local influencer or a content creator or a retailer.
Yeah, no, for us as a global brand, it's a challenge, right? Because we are a global brand, but we do want to localize it and make it feel part of, the culture. And so we are exclusive with Sephora in over 22 countries. So that partnership means so much to us. And we work together on whether it's events or creator mailers and really fine tune. Obviously, we want to stay true to our brand DNA, but what part of that brand resonates with that particular audience? And, we work directly with creators, and we have Trippin' with Tarts with, international creators, and we're able to tell the brand story, and then they're able to share what they know will work for their audience, right? So it's about the relationships, it's about the partnership, and creating content that works for their audiences.
Yeah. K18's still a young brand. We're only 4 years old, but we've definitely had a global by design mindset. In the first few years, we focused on US as a strategy, but as we're leaning into international, we've leaned into pro stylists because that's been our niche community. So we're looking to mirror what we've done in the US, which really focus on stylists, but then also for the first time in 4 years, we're hiring talent on the ground to be able to manage and work with influencers and stylists and have a localized feel.
Yeah. I wanted to allow enough time for a couple of questions from the audience, so I'd love to turn it over to everyone here if you have any questions for the panel. No? Yep, here.
Hi, Bilal Kaiser, Agency Guacamole. A lot of your brands do amazing work on social and on digital across the platforms. Sometimes things go awry, right? You get called out, or a lie can go around the world on TikTok very, very quickly. Do you have any advice for founders or agency partners when dealing with such situations?
I'll take that. So be transparent, be real, overshare the information, but do it in a way. What I will say is don't rush. Take a minute, read everything, and then be transparent. Because at the end of the day, people want to know the truth. And if you made a mistake, own up to it, right? You may lose some customers, you may gain some others, but the worst thing you can do is to try to hide behind, to try to ignore it. It's about making changes and really just putting yourself out there.
Yeah, and I could give you an example. We had a couple years ago, we launched a sunscreen product where beautiful formulation, but the packaging was not great, and we got called out for it. So it was flaking, but the thing was the comments, we went in deep into the comments, they loved the formula to the point where people were taping around it to keep the bottle so they could use the formula. So we reacted, we took in all the comments, we redid the packaging, and then we said in there, we connected with the consumers and said, we are coming back. We heard your feedback, and be transparent. This is something we're working on. And then when we relaunched it, we acknowledged that was the feedback we got from the community, and we brought it back, and it was a big welcome response because we heard them and we addressed it. Yeah.
Oh, there's a couple of hands here and there. Oh, sorry.
Hi, my name is Kudzi, also known as Sir Candleman online. I used to work at TikTok for a number of years, and I know a lot of people want to know how to find the right creator to work with, and I know K18, you work with Alex Earl, but the world is changing a lot with the democratization of content creators, so there's always new voices. How do you stay ahead of who's next? So if Alex is at at the top now, how do you find the next Alex Earl to keep the mix fresh and to be ahead of your competitors?
Yeah, so for us, we actually started working with Alex early days for her. So that's been our strategy, is to try and find people that are on the brink of culture and about to blow up. And part of that, again, is having that in-house team. I myself, happen to be obsessed with TikTok, so constantly, in the thick of it. But it's definitely having that almost like an anthropology, so sociological perspective on it. But yeah, Alex Earl is a unicorn in a sense, but there's creators that pop up all the time. I mean, there was a Logan, the cucumber guy that we worked with recently. He was very viral. So it's really fun to see, what is popping up and what's moving people, even if it's totally outside of the category. He was actually our top converter at the bottom and top of funnel, which we were really surprised about.
I can add in on that with Alex Earl. We, worked with her early on before she kind of popped too. But I think it's a little bit of a magic ball, right? You have to try to figure it out. But when you're working with creators, we work with creators that have less than 2,000 followers to those that have over 2 million followers. And it's about the content that they're creating. Or do they have the same values as you, right? You need to look at the whole creator environment, and the metrics these days, it's not just about eyeballs, right? It's about the engagement, right? It's about conversion, and it's about ROI. So there's lots of creators out there that have that, all eyeballs on them, but are they the ones that will potentially drive sales, right? So you need to look at everything when working with creators. So.
And just to build on it, I think working with creators with all different size followings and how they engage with your brand. So getting them the product, making sure they're replenished, making sure they're experiencing all the things you want them to experience about your product, and they'll grow with you. So and you start to see the engagement grow, and then there's a connection and values, and you're actually creating things together. So you bring something, they bring something, and there's this magic that happens in terms of how they manifest and tell the story of your brand in a way that fits in their world. I think that's where the magic happens, and we're excited, they're excited. So I think it's the two things that come together. Yeah.
Yeah. Thanks. I think. Do we have time for one more? Yeah. Here in the front.
Hey, I'm Sam. I'm a creative director at Gradient. We're an experiential agency. Mary, you mentioned the value you'd got from an experience that ended up getting a lot of impressions online. I'm wondering what the panel thinks is the difference between an event or experience that takes off online and becomes a content phenomenon versus, just giving away some samples and getting some photos, and how can brands really move the needle with their events and experiences?
Well, I can chime in with from a startup perspective, and I'm sure you guys have a interesting perspective as well. We've taken, because all of our products are voted on. When we launched KIKI, we hosted lab lunches, and we brought in-person, early-stage lab samples so that the things that people are voting on, they could touch and feel. And we actually, even when we work on our SDK skin development kit, we brought creators to the lab, and we talk about who the lab is. And I think that level of transparency really was magnetic to people. And we got some of our most loyal members that now know that when they're engaged with the voting, they may get a sample early. And to us, what catalyzed this in their imagination was doing a lot of small, inexpensive, but very hands-on events. And so it's one of the cliches in startups, do things that don't scale. So we love in-person events, and some of our most loyal members have come through in-person events. What I won't say is that what makes our events, and I think it's more common days even this year, is we treat each of our customer as a creator. So we invite our customers as well as creators, and we look at that cohort uniformly. I mean, obviously, if it's a mega influencer, that's maybe not always appropriate, but in general, it's a one event, and it's one of the most impactful things that we do as a startup.
Thank you so much to all four of you, and thank you all for the questions. And that's all the time we have for, but it's been really thanks.